Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time.
All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hi, I'm Johnny.
Hey, I'm Dave.
I'm Nat, and we are Ants.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, let's go in the same order. Why don't you have you all each just say, who you are and what role you play in the band?
Johnny Clay. I play acoustic guitar and sing.
Yeah, I'm Dave Gulick, and I sing and play guitar.
I'm Nat, and I'm going to try to say it differently, but I sing and play guitar.
I had a feeling that's how that one was going to go.
Yeah, the dream was that we all sing and we all play.
Yes.
And then any instrument that has to be, recorded, we kind of all play multiple instruments. So it's like, whatever needs to be done.
Perfect.
We do it. So
I dig that. And then we're gonna just kind of break this off into individual moments. What got you each into music initially?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I think the guitar that I play is my dad's, or was my dad's. He gave it to me, and it just sort of stared at me and dared me to learn how to play it. And I didn't actually get up the courage to really take it seriously until college, and then just totally fell in love with writing songs and making records, and so I'm still at it.
Gotcha. I dig that.
yeah, I would say for me, I love, grew up enjoying music is my thing. I definitely heard at the library, we checked out Sgt. Pepper's on CD. It was like one of the first CDs we ever had. And it just kind of blew my mind. And I was just like, this is amazing, And so always liked music, never really played. And actually, like Johnny, later in life, I started playing in high school. I played sports and was really into that. And kind of injured my knee and was unable to play soccer anymore. And so switched to music and kind of never looked back and just studied jazz and piano and all this stuff. And just kind of,
Oh, man. So an unfortunate circumstance, but it sounds like it led to something pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I always was so, loved seeing people playing music, and it was just fun to kind of make that switch, and kind of worked out for the best and got to play with these guys.
Yeah, I dig that. And then what about you?
My music journey started pretty young, like a lot of kids playing different instruments. And I remember just, I started playing violin pretty young, but once I discovered that a guitar had strings and it was like similar logic, I never looked back. So I was a teenager and my mom had an old guitar that was in a case for like decades, and it was somewhat in tune. Maybe I remembered how to tune. I don't know, but I picked it up and I started playing along with songs, and it was just like, okay, that's it. And basically flipped from the guitar being the instrument that I wanted to play to it facilitating singing. And it's still that to me. I still don't even say I'm a guitar player yet. I play guitar in many bands and do that. But it still just facilitates this thing. And I think we probably all would say that.
Yeah.
And then, we have our parts and our skills on guitars, but it's about singing.
Gotcha.
It's all about singing.
Okay. So that's kind of where each of you kind of focus primarily in your roles musically.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think what the focus with us together is, how do we it's harmonized.
Yeah.
it's not just three people singing, because I know a lot of people that have incredible voices and we can all sing simultaneously, but there's something different about the breathing and the bending and flexing of like three voices that are actually listening to each other and feeding off each other. And so although this is kids music, I think there's a preconception with that, but we have a lot of fun and take a lot of pride in what we're actually doing musically.
I mean, understandably, and we're going to talk about a lot of that in the middle of this, so I don't want to put that out.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll save it.
It's a preview.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Before we get into more of the here
camera.
and now, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Yeah.
This first one is one we ask early. It's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you each bought with your own money?
It's a great question.
Well, you go first.
I feel like we've asked this before, and I don't want to like make up my answer, but I think the first that I bought with my own money was a CD.
Mhm.
And I think I simultaneously bought my first CD player.
Oh, okay.
And it was Nirvana Nevermind.
Oh.
Cool answer. I'm not, but it was,
I mean, it's applicable.
it
to
was
the
that,
time.
or
And
it
I
was
mean,
like of that era, you
That's
got
like
things
the
in the mail.
coolest thing. Well, I purchased Led Zeppelin. Biggie. I mean, it's what I
was listening to it on tape, so I think I was already cool, Dave. Like,
No,
you
I
need to
know.
understand is that like the cassette tape
that is
was
definitely
upgraded. I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go with that.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. And I think I was really into 90s hip hop.
Mm.
So it could either be Another Bad Creation, which is
Ooh.
Belle Biv DeVoe, or Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel.
Ooh.
So I'm going to go with Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel, but it really easily could have been MC Hammer.
Mhm.
I don't remember, but I remember going to Tower Records and buying it, just like,
Yeah, it's a big deal
yeah.
when you got to pick that out.
Or maybe it was Debbie Gibson.
Now you see, I thought I knew, and now
I mean, Nirvana was what
MC
I-
Hammer, and I'm like, it could have been MC Hammer.
Yeah.
So I grew up in San Antonio, Texas,
Okay.
and my hero was David Robinson, the Admiral, and he was in the MC Hammer Too Legit to Quit video.
Really?
Do you remember that?
No.
So that could have been my first, and I probably bought like a cassette single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, those are all cool choices.
Wait, are we talking CDs or cassettes?
Well,
Just first
thing you
album.
bought.
Yeah.
I had a million cassettes, but I don't think I'd ever purchased anything until it was that album. That's why I said it. I get to pick and choose.
Okay,
the
I can
magic one.
change it slightly then.
Okay, you go for
The
it.
first
Upgrade.
No, the first cassette I bought was Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh,
That
okay.
was
Oh man.
even worse. That was the first cassette. So I
That was
definitely
so good.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Love that cassette. So
That was a great recovery answer.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and then it was Debbie Gibson.
So, Dave, I had that on vinyl,
See, that's some,
which is just crazy that we're talking about vinyl, tape, and like
CD, all,
compact disc all at once. Like we were in this, we all kind of were raised in that moment where everything was transitioning and nothing was right. I mean, CDs were very cool and felt like the wave of the future, and they
and
were
really
but
expensive though too. I mean, the CDs were like $16, $17.
were they?
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't.
crazy expensive.
I just remember going to Fred Meyer and just gawking
Yeah,
over
see, not
their
if it was
the
plastic
Columbia
cases.
house.
There was that era of time where like they started doing the like $5 CD bins
Yeah.
with like stuff that like growing up you were like, wow, that's really cool. And then, a few years later it ended up there and you were like, this is only $5.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Johnny brings up a good thing. There was BMG and then Columbia House. I don't know if you remember that, but like the mail and stuff where you,
Yep.
it was like you mail in a penny and you get 10 CDs.
You get
and
to
then
pick 10.
Yeah, but then you realize like 2 of the CDs were like very expensive. So we always were like,
Yeah.
get sent.
I
to
see. I didn't do that. I think that preceded me ever buying my first album, and we had I don't know what grade I was in, but a teacher had basically told us that it was a financial scam, and that we would get our parents in trouble if we. I mean, I think it was
go to
like.
jail.
Yeah.
I think it was the parents planted this in the teacher to tell the kids not to do this. But all you had to do was send a thing in for like a penny, and
Yeah.
you could get 10 CDs, and then you would owe them money, years later.
Yeah.
And we were convinced that was the worst thing to possibly do. So I saved my lawn mowing money for, whatever, $12, $13.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the original Napster.
Yeah, it was.
Like every kid bought like Eagles Greatest Hits Volume 1 and 2.
Right.
And then Foreigner's Greatest Hits. I mean, there's all these. I remember the ones like
Steve
like
Miller's
Boston.
Greatest Hits.
Steve Miller, yeah.
That
There's
was the one.
classic ones.
With like a horse on the cover. Is that it? I think I.
And then the Beatles, what people called the Red Album and the Blue Album.
Yeah.
Remember? It was
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
and they're like, but I also have that white one.
Past Masters.
No, like the actual white album.
the white
Yeah.
album.
They were just colorful albums.
Well, I tried to buy the Past Masters version, and on mistake bought the White Album, and I was like, "What is this? This is terrible." I was so mad about it, and I felt, and then later on, I'm like, "Oh, this is really good."
Yeah.
Like,
Now it's like,
man.
Yeah, when you're expecting one thing and you get something completely different.
you get the greatest thing ever, completely different.
I know.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was so bummed.
Yeah.
And then what was one of the first live shows you each went to that was specifically one you wanted to go to? So like you saw it was happening, got the tickets and went to it.
Oh, I remember vividly.
Go for it.
It was so significant.
Nirvana. Sorry, I apologize.
You know, there was a chance, and I was like afraid to go. Like I was so intimidated by the concept. It was Blind Melon and Lenny Kravitz on tour together. That Blind Melon album came out, No Rain. That got me into it, but then I loved every song on that album. I'd been to concerts before, but this was like, I chose, just like we're saying, I chose to go to this. Blind Melon played a set. It blew me away. It was perfect. It was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. And then that was it. I was so full and overwhelmed that I was like, okay, let's go home now, Dad. We left right as Are You Gonna Go My Way started playing by Lenny Kravitz, and I just didn't even acknowledge it. And yet now I'm just like, that would have been incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like of his probably his most iconic album and hits. Just said goodbye to that because I'd had enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a sensitive little 14-year-old or 13-year-old, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Johnny?
I know
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
No, I've got a Stevie Ray Vaughan story for you, though. No, Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Freeman Coliseum. And they were touring the Tiny Music record.
Wow.
And I did not have Core. But I was dating Christy, my now wife, who had Core, so she knew every song, and I'm like the guy who doesn't know, like Wicked Garden or Plush. I didn't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I knew Lady Picture Show, and
That's a great record.
I know. Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
So my first concert that I went to was Metallica and Suicidal Tendencies.
Whoa.
And it was supposed to be Alice in Chains. So I loved Alice in Chains at Portland Meadows. So it was called the Binge and Purge tour.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, it was just a big deal.
They ended up filming some of those sets and put out a box set.
Yeah, I mean it was amazing just to see, and just blew my mind. And the issue was Alice in Chains, Lane Staley. He had an overdose, and so Candlebox played, which I actually love that song. We always joke about it, but it's.
I'm thinking of the wrong band.
It's a great.
Yeah,
it was a great.
It's okay. It's okay. Just keep thinking of
Maybe
that.
I don't know. You can check that.
Yeah, somebody Google that.
Wrong.
Yeah.
He's wrong. So that was great. It was amazing.
That began your lifelong love of chorus on guitar, right?
Yes.
The irony is so your first show is everything you don't do, and it's total respect for those bands, but you do not play heavy, dark, chorused out, crunched, just thing. It's Dave is smooth as can be.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I mean, the musical journey is definitely filled with many experiences.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
You got to understand your dynamic range out there.
Yeah. Well, those all sound like really cool experiences as well.
Thanks.
And then before we officially get into the now, how do y'all meet?
We met. Did we meet playing Music Fest Northwest? Is that
Probably.
where we met?
At Ash Street, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So these guys are in a band called Derby, which I now play with Derby as well. And I'm in a band called The Dimes. And so we played Music Fest Northwest on the same bill, had never met. And I mean, it's not like we started immediately hanging out outside of music, but we definitely started looking for each other on bills. And I think it was within a couple of years of that, we were regularly playing the Doug Fir together. And if they gave you the option, well, who'd you like on the bill? You would ask for the other person. And so then it would be while the opener was on, we would be backstage catching up on well, what's been going on? And, and so that was, it played each other's record releases, and that kind of went on for years.
Yeah.
And then we've been friends ever since.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And actually, Nat and I met in college. We were in the dorms together at U of O. So we had caddy corner.
Oh, okay.
I always remember I moved in and I was playing a guitar like day one in the dorms, like, you know, like a classic freshman. And I could hear this other guitar in the hall. And then somebody goes, hey, that guy Dave across plays guitar. I was like, oh yeah, I heard it. And meanwhile, it wasn't Dave playing. It was somebody else like butchering Metallica. And it was so funny because I met you and I was like, that's the guy?
I know.
And then he's this lefty. And Dave was actually like phenomenal. Like I really never progressed from like day one on the guitar. It was like I had the ability to cheat it and then just like was rudimentary, but enjoyed singing. And then I was like, oh, he's really good. And that's
being modest.
Yeah,
He's a really good guitar player.
We had no, but that was not like the beginning of our musical journey. It was just a love of music together at that point and through most of college. And then we grew into it and basically found a love of harmonizing at some point in there. We lived together on and off for those 4 years. And then like immediately after, like I was an athlete in college and I just decided, nope, we're doing music.
Oh, okay.
And we just did it. We just started playing music. And Dave prolifically wrote a bunch of song ideas. I had some cheesy ideas and like we had enough to pull together a set. And then the rest is like, it just exploded. And yeah, we met Johnny. And you know, there was a handful of those bands where you're like, they're doing their thing and we really respect that. And it was that authentic, we want to be around you and more people like you.
Just cool music.
And so we've always remained like musical friends. But I mean, I think there's a lot more to that journey on how we actually got together and became this. But we first met just innocently doing our indie rock thing.
I dig that. That's really cool.
It was a neat time too, because it was just a different time in Portland.
Well,
and
like very innocently established a community of like authentic musicians. I mean, there's a lot of trendy, cool stuff, and I mean, whether we were a part of that or not, that wasn't the angle. It was just like, oh, I like what you're doing a lot.
And you're a nice person,
and you're a nice and responsible person.
That could go a long way in the world of music.
He shows up on time.
Happy to be here. What?
But that goes a long way because then you start. When you have a rapport, you can share backline. You know, it makes the whole show better for the audience because you're not waiting for the next band to like completely change over every single thing.
I mean, our MySpace chat function was just filled up with accurate communication.
Oh man, I haven't heard anybody reference MySpace.
Yeah, it was a little. I threw
that was a lawless time for sure.
We both had Tom as friends.
I think everybody had Tom.
We did. And everyone's account was equally hacked. And like pictures of other bands would show up on your feed.
Yep. It was Tom, great. If you're watching, come back.
Yeah, we miss you. We miss
rebuy MySpace back from Google. Let's do this. Yeah. Now is the time.
Didn't Tom retire and like there's some story there like he's doing well.
Oh yeah, he sold MySpace to Google.
Right, but
and that was like back when Google was like, we have an insane amount of money and want to be like something different.
I feel like he's a painter now or something. I read some weird article.
Good for Tom.
For Tom.
Tom's
we could all aspire to be a Tom.
Yeah, I would definitely take Tom over Mark any day of the week. Yeah, any day of the week. But let's go ahead and let's get on into. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Kind of sticking with how the band met. What made y'all decide to go the more like family music route?
Right. Sure. So in between Dimes and Derby, sharing lots and lots of bills.
Oh, it would be a great tour name now that I think about it.
Yeah. And now, let's see, I had, my wife and I had our first daughter while the Dimes were, and actually we played several shows together where she couldn't come because she wasn't 21, but when I was already a dad. But I resisted that urge to do anything, family music or kindie music or whatever they're calling it, because I actually didn't even know that kind of music was being made. I didn't know what a vibrant community Portland and Vancouver have for kindie music. So,
just to clarify, is kindie kid indie?
Kid indie.
That is cool. I have never heard that before. Yeah. I love that. I'm here for that.
Yeah. So, like when you're brand new parents and you don't know what you're doing and but everybody wants to help and they like, oh, here's this CD that you should play for your kid when they go to bed. And it's I mean, I'm sorry, most of them are not what I would want to play my child.
That's fair.
So we were playing her, you know, the Beatles and Tom Petty and
Debbie Gibson.
Little MC Hammer.
Yeah. And
Metallica.
so it wasn't until another really good friend of ours, Eric Nordby, who plays on a lot of the Ants records, it wasn't until he brought up Harry Nilsson's The Point, which I don't know if you've seen it. It's an animated feature-length movie. Ringo Starr narrates, and it's just weird and beatly and wonderful.
And what year was that made? Like
71.
Yeah.
I mean,
Perfect
before
71
our
vibe.
time.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't grow up with it. I didn't know it. You know, we grew up with like Sesame Street and kind of like at the tail end of Schoolhouse Rock and that kind of stuff. And so he brought up the point that you can do music like this for kids. And of course he knows what a Beatles nut I am. So he just try to drop that in there somewhere and I'm going to fall for it. So we started kind of like, well, the next time he came over, I had a song. I was like, hey, I wrote, there was this raccoon that came to the back door and I wrote a song about it and, you know, check it out. And it was very kind of Beatley, ELO, Harry Nilsson. And we started kind of messing around with how can we make this kind of like a what we would do in our indie bands. What would we do? And it's, you know, it's kind of dimesy or whatever. Well, Dave and I were working on side projects because our jobs had become to be songwriters and composers. Like we were trying to write songs to get into television shows or trying to write songs to get into ads or whatever it may be. And we had both been able to quit our jobs and go full-time songwriting. And so he's coming over, we're collaborating on some projects, and I've got that one up on Pro Tools because I was still working on it. And he goes, what's this? I was like, oh, and I was kind of embarrassed. I was like, I'm like messing with some, like, I'm trying to make an album for the kids while they're young because they say all these things and, you know, they're talking about helicopter leaves now, and I didn't even know what that was. But they're the maple seeds, you know, they fall off the tree and they spin. And so I've got this helicopter leaves idea, and he was like, let me hear it. And he immediately was like, I want to play. And so I think the next time we saw each other, he brought a song over.
Oh, cool.
And which was probably YYY, right?
Yeah, or Fin Pup. Fin Pup, I think was. Yeah.
So, and so then the next, I mean, it was probably, all this was within a few weeks. He brings something over and I'm like, who's singing harmonies? Oh, Nat's singing. Nat now wanted to play it too. So, you know, we just start remembering how fun it is to just free creativity. Like we didn't have to be Derby. We didn't have to be the Dimes. This could just be whatever this song wants to be because it's fun. And wouldn't it be funny if we like channeled like that Beatley thing we never got to do in our indie bands? And so the character of Ants started to become very 70s, very even 60s, 70s Beatley and 3-part harmony because all three of us were just geeking out on how much fun that would be. And I swear I never thought it would be more than just that record. Like we were just making a record. I was so grateful to my friends for like, this is so cool. We're making this amazing record for my kids. You know, we captured so many of their memories on that first record. Like Dave would come over and be like, so what else did they say? And you know,
yeah, give me some stuff.
Yeah.
What's the word on the street?
Yeah.
Please.
And so we had this full length record. We met some people in the community that have been so sweet and have kind of taken us under their wing and shown us the ropes on like, here's who you need to talk to for publicity. Here's who you need to talk to for distribution. And so we came into this just, we were going to make a record and capture this beautiful thing. And then because of the kindness of the Portland and Vancouver communities, we ended up getting picked up by the Sirius XM radio station. They started playing a bunch of the songs from that record. I think, that record got some sort of review or award or something that got us invited to Wolf Trap in DC to which is the Theater for the Arts, and they have a children's theater for the arts.
It's the National Park. That's
National Theater for the Arts. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so we're like, at this point, I think we've already played a show or two. So we've put a band together. So Nate from Deepest Darkest.
Nice deep.
Yep. And Isaac from Derby, the drummer from Derby, plays drums in Ants. And we got flown to the East Coast to play some shows, and it was just this amazing experience with this amazing group of people. We just couldn't believe, like, never in a million years would have pictured we're doing this.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and like to build off of that, like Johnny was this spark because he has these kids and, this captive audience and like this sort of like you said, it was like a moment in time where there's this innocence just like flowing and you're like, oh my gosh, so much creative like fodder. But then once Dave and I come in, like we don't have the kids, we have family and like all these other people that we would consider our primary audience or muse. But it became this like creative equation that I'd never felt before making our music that we'd made before. Like I don't think, maybe the uniting characteristic was none of us were making music to try to be a thing.
Yeah.
It was like, we just made music and that was the music was, and it happened to be of a time where we get classified as indie rock or this or that or other, but it was just our music.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can listen to it now and you can hear a timestamp on it and things like that, but it's sort of a production thing. This was like, oh my gosh, there are no limits. And there's also not that same, is it going to be cool? Like we've made it far enough that now I hope the audience still likes it. Like that's not a consideration.
Yeah.
We're making music and we're pumping it out at a rate because there are just no creative roadblocks that I'd never felt before. I know these two were just like doing this every day, but I think that collectively the momentum we created by not editing ourselves in a way that we would maybe if we were trying to do this for adults and be as relevant like in the moment. We're just like, we want to make great songs, period. It could be 2018, it could be 2028, it could be whatever. And it just kept rolling. And like, I don't know, that's the thing to me. It was like there was the spark and then there's the reason that we were able to continue to create more. And then when you create more, you have more and more things happen. It's just like these little micro doors continue to open as a result of that. And so it's been like this sort of perpetual motion machine that was like put in place by one very innocent song and still doing it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now let's go ahead. Let's get on into the present day. We are going to knock out a super easy one first, though. How'd you pick the name?
I think, am I right? I think I had ants. And yeah, I think I had ants, just as like a earmarked. I was just stashing ideas in a folder, and Dave said, "I like it, but what if we called it Ants?" And it made so much sense. There's three of us singing. We don't do as many anymore, but we used to do a lot of 3-piece shows where just the three of us would play and sing. So it made a lot of sense. And I don't know what, I mean, obviously Dave wrote why. We like the three.
3 words.
3 is a magic number.
We need to come up with a really fake answer for this question.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I mean, honestly, it's not every name comes from a place of like prolific background. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is a cool name.
Well, there's clearly the Beatles, the Buddy Holly and the Crickets. There's obviously
I was going to ask if the Beatles played a bug.
Yes, I'm sure it did. But the fact that it went to 3 was definitely because there's 3 of us.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I dig it though. Like I said, it's a cool name. It's easy to remember, easy to spell. Ant is like the word that's attached to the letter A,
right.
just in general. So it's like, it's up there. It's going to be, when you search, it's going to show up early in the lists. Like when bills go alphabetical, you're going to be right there.
That's right.
Like it just, all in all, it is a solid name. And I imagine you can make it look cool.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a really easy like word to stack, especially when it's repeated intentionally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I always do this bit where I break down names. So
No,
that is my take on it.
Symmetrical band names are fantastic.
Yeah.
Like it's triangle. It's very strong.
See, that's what I was going to say is you could make it in the triangle.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it would fit perfect. Oh,
Yeah.
I have so many ideas I could come up with for name designs, but
You're hired.
oh God, oh, y'all heard it.
We could basically do like a Pink Floyd cover, but it just says Ants.
There we go.
Just, ripping off the past.
I'm sure they won't say
No,
anything
they
about
wouldn't,
it. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning. So now, when it's time to make a new track, how do y'all go about getting one started?
The theme is gonna be probably the first thing. There's an initial creative spark and inspiration. I will say we're holding ourselves to trying to do a holiday tune every year. And no matter how our intention is to try and start early, we always put it off until about August or September, and then we're going, we got to get this out, because you got to, send it to mixing and send it to distribution and all that stuff in plenty of time to get out right at Thanksgiving. And so those, you just know that's coming every year. And we're only just doing a song at a time, because we're thinking, well, if we just keep going for 10 years, we'll have a holiday
Christmas
record,
album,
right?
yeah.
So that'd be really fun. But outside of that, there are these kind of magical, inspiring things. So the first record was figuring it out, like we said, a lot of the stories from my two daughters, just the things, what's the biggest animal in the world, and having a little debate on our walk to school, and she's telling me, well, my friend said it was an elephant, and I'm saying, well, I'm pretty sure it's a blue whale. I don't believe you. And then and then we look it up when we get to the school, and there we go.
And you were like, I told you so.
Right,
aggressively.
And it was like, I'm going to write a song about it, and then you'll remember forever. But. So that first record is like Dave, we were trying to figure out, was it Finn Pup, which is his dog Finn? Was it Why, which is probably your niece asking in the why phase
Just questions, everything.
Nat wrote Willow Tree, which I don't know if you were like underneath a willow tree or
in my mind.
Yeah, but so those were coming from all over as we were sort of getting our feet wet and making that record. Once we saw this is really fun. I thought the entire next record was Dave's, the Robot EP. Was Dave going, I want to write I guess it was just a song at first. I want to write a song about a robot, because Isaac, our friend and the drummer, loves robots. So it was like, I want to write a song for Isaac about robots.
Weird thing to say.
No, he does.
Isaac loves robots.
He loves robots.
That's really the only thing he loves. He's very specific.
He's very happy about robots. Well, anyway,
he has other likes too.
Dave goes
two more.
Dave goes just full on. I mean 4 or 5 robot songs, and so that was our first kind of like themed project. So,
but I want to like start like. You jump over like the magic. The magic is that like these two are prolific like fountains of ideas, and like you wrote a song about whatever it could be, a blue whale, but it's not like everybody has a different definition of what writing a song is. Some people it's writing lyrics and they're like, I got a song and I'll go figure it out. This is like the content is there, but it's all melody. Like everything is about the melody, and I would say like we don't really work until that is a thing. Like, I mean, there's a chance you have a clever lyric, but none of us are going to hear a second of it until that melody is dialed. And that's the magic where I'm always like, this is amazing. Like we can rework words, but like you've already done that thing that just came from your brain that is an authentic, like unique sound. And that's what we're going to work from. So there's always been this, this is how it, this is the general melody. This is where it's going to go. We'll arrange as we need. This is the theme of the song. We can sharpen it out, but like it's there. Like the song is there. Yeah. So I think maybe that's another commonality is I think we all are like, we listen to music, try to extract as much as possible. But I mean, for me, like if I could maybe miss all the lyrics, what they're actually trying to say, but I'm never going to miss the melody. And that's what's going to draw me back. And like instantaneously, those things are just cranking out. So
You are right. We are all fans of songs.
Yeah.
We love song, and we love song bands, which is why, and the Beatles is another, we'll just say the Beatles as many times as we can. And I love how McCartney describes grabbing melodies out of the air. Like he's like, I don't want to know where they come from. Like, I don't want to try to think too much about it, because then what if I mess up the magic? Like,
right.
You know, the melodies just come, and then it's like, okay, well, I've got to grab a guitar, got to get to the piano, got to put this down. I don't know how you do it.
It's just they're
Dave writes all the hits, by the way.
That's not true.
By the way,
That's
kids,
not
if
true.
you're wondering, well, what are all my favorite songs are Dave? Yes, you're right.
That's not true. But we're all in it together. I think there's sometimes you get gifts, right? These songs come, and like, you know, I think you guys have explained it really well. Just you definitely, there's the process of trying to fine tune something, and like once you have the idea, you're kind of like chipping away at it. And I feel like we kind of had a breakthrough where, you know, a lot of the times, like Johnny and I will have an idea, and it's you know, maybe a chorus, maybe a verse or two, but we've gotten to the point now where we kind of will go write, like go do a writing session, which we never really did in the past. We would just kind of like, the song's done, here we go. And I think that started happening early on in this band, which was just, we didn't really know what to expect. Like, hey, we're going to the beach, we're going to hang out for a weekend. Let's see what we can work on. We did that, and you know,
you're right.
That was kind of the beginning
of
like,
the robot songs were that way. Yeah.
Because it just all came together, and because I'm always like, oh, this is going to be, we're not going to get it, you know, and we're going to leave being like, oh, we didn't get any, you know, any improvements on the lyrics or the verses, and we went and we finished like 3 or 4 songs, and it was just like this weekend where like my head hurt so bad.
I think we finished like 7 or 8 songs.
Yeah,
like and we played them back on the car ride home, and you're like, I forgot we even did that. Yeah. But like the point is, I think everybody has their creative fountain, and like those melodies that do pop out, and we build on it. But like I think we all have different contributions when someone brings an idea to the table. Yeah. And therefore, like the result hopefully is greater than the sum of its parts, because it's not just like, let's just take Johnny's idea and finish Johnny's idea. It's like, let's take Johnny's idea and then let's serve the song. Yeah. And Dave will be like, hey, well, sing this. And the example of us actually doing like a creative endeavor from beginning to end resulted in songs where what we were working on were the things that made us most exciting. Like, how do we all sing this together? What does that harmony sound like? And then once we're locked into that harmony, then I think we've bought into the song. So we do these little tricks to get ourselves motivated to finish it. And that was a moment of like pure, like, creative overload in the best of ways. Like, I think I had to sleep for 3 days afterwards, but but it was just like, you know, we'd already mapped out all these harmonies. Don't ask us to tell you what they sounded like, but thankfully digital technology allowed us to capture it, and
not
like
tape anymore.
And we'd be like, okay, do your part again, and then you'd sing it, and then I'd sing it, and I'd sing it, and then you'd be like, oh, wow, who sang what? I don't know.
I just remember at the end of it, I was mad because we didn't even go to the beach. Like, we didn't even like walk on the beach because we were just like working on these songs. And I was like, all right, if we do this again, we have to promise we're going to go to the beach. We're going to get some food, maybe. You know, it's just like, but you know,
the whole time it's just ordering pizza and staying inside.
I mean, we were so locked in, and it was like a very special thing. And I think we felt we're totally fried after it. Just like, man, this is a way to create great music, which is like, this could be applied to family music. This could be applied to non-family, like, you know, kind of other bands. And so it's just like, oh man, it's just kind of this massive.
Yeah. But we really do try though that, like, I mean, we use that term serve the song, but it's like kind of like a remove your ego from the process. Like, we could call it a Dave song, we could call it a Johnny song, right. But that's usually about the origin, or maybe like I had the idea, like I wanted it to become this, and we'll defer to that person. But the process now is like, we will all contribute, we'll all shape how it all comes together. Then we'll bring the band in a recording process. And there's still, I mean, we could call it writing. There's still some like production scripting that's happening and from the input of the full band. And like, it's amazing how that
stuff in the studio,
how that equation has continued to refine itself and become more and more nuanced in a way that is efficient, but also exciting, because you just never really know, you know, as opposed to the traditional, like maybe some like the songs we've written in the past where it's like, you have an idea, you see it through from beginning to end. There's contributions from but they're just filling in what you've asked them to do. Yeah. Now it's like, we're opening it up to new ideas. And I think that's going to help keep things fresh as we move forward, because we can all get, you know, some writer's block or stuck in there. But
well, it sounds like now y'all write with like space left intentionally. I imagine, you know, when you each show up now, you're like, hey, I have this thing. I left spaces for y'all to add in your magic. I didn't have to flush out a whole finished concept from Bell the Buzzer because you know that it's a team experience.
Yeah.
I will say a lot of Johnny is really good at just having. He'll have a great hook. He'll have a great chorus, and you know the verse will be there too. Like I think your songs especially like tend to be pretty flushed out and dialed and sound great, and we're just kind of definitely we can massage a little bit and help. But I mean, I think that's something you tend to like. I mean, maybe because you hold yourself. I'm going to write a bridge too. I'm like, I don't know, bridge. Who needs a bridge? Let's just go.
A B A B A B A B.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
just
I mean-
A.
Yeah, there you go.
Repeat.
Well, there's another interesting aspect to the, you know, how these things actually come out, because I know where you're coming from when you're like, well, how does, you know, talk about your writing process. And we all think about, you know, like a Paul McCartney or whoever is, oh, they wrote this song and then they went in and recorded it. And then naturally, then it was on this album because they wrote it during that time. But the reality is that sometimes you can be stuck after you've written it though. Because you're like, I don't really know what to do with that. You know, and that's where the trust factor comes in, where in the Dimes, for me, it was the guitarist Pierre. I needed that sign off. I needed that. I love that song. We should keep working on that. And that's what the three of us do for each other in this band is you can have the song, you know, like what you're saying, kind of, you've got it flushed out. Well, I wasn't willing to release it as that, you know, like we'll talk about the song Mr. Gray, which is actually one of the first songs, is the one about the raccoon. Well, you would have thought that would have been on the first record, but it was not released until the record we currently have out. And that's because I wasn't sure what to do with it and had set it aside. But Dave was so insistent, like, I love that song. Why aren't we working on that song? And it takes that, sometimes we do like we call it the workout buddy. It takes that person to get you to go to the gym, you know, to get you to put in the work. And that's just as valuable as, you know, somebody eyeball to eyeball, changing a lyric here or changing a chord there, you know, because the song would not really exist in the world if it wasn't for that push.
Gotcha. I dig that.
Yeah.
And for this next question, I'm kind of curious to see how this goes, because it sounds like you have a pretty tight knit process. But when it comes to like creative differences, what does that look like for you guys?
Punching.
Just gloves on.
Loud shouting matches.
Thumb wrestling.
Oh my God, that would solve.
Is that what it's called? Thumb war?
I think it's both. Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna echo what Nat said earlier about, I don't know how you worded it, check your ego or no ego.
Yeah.
That is one of the so refreshing, one of the most refreshing things about this group is that we've all been in those bands. We've all like felt like we had to live up to a sound or an image or whatever. And we all grew through that to get to a point where you just really respect each other. And it's like, if you're not into a certain song, let's shelve it for a while. You know, maybe an idea will come up down the road. It's really helpful when the primary songwriter doesn't take it so personally, like, you know, well, that's my baby. You know? If somebody's really loves a song, you can tell, you know, and then you want to put in the work for that person. You're like, I know you really love this song. I'm going to try and do everything I can to make it magical, even if it's not my favorite. I think there's just so much trust in each other's taste.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. And I think that there's like, with that sort of removal of the ego, there's a more objective look at like, you know, like I think we can all kind of see. I mean, music is completely subjective, but at least we're aligned on what it is we've made, and like what we love are usually most of the same things. In terms of what we're most proud of, I think we can there's just a feeling. And sometimes, you know, things aren't a feeling, but I don't think we've hit a creative differences moment in this band because we've probably worked through them, as opposed to clashing on these moments. And I mean, maybe some of those songs where there may be different feelings. It's like, we are going to default. Like, that's the one thing we've said. We'll default to the sort of like the person who came up with this idea and to let them see it through, but we're all going to help them get to that finish line.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's a great question because, I think we need to have a big blowout and then answer that again.
Well, see, that's also why I try to phrase it as like creative differences. Some people can have two separate ideas that lead towards the same source. So I'm always curious, especially for bands that it sounds like, y'all do work very close, and there is not, it sounds like a lot of dissonance in general.
There isn't. I think with our personalities, we've learned to I think we respect and trust each other and realize that we're only going to be good if we all are collaborating truly. But like you said, like, I think there have been things where we've created and we're like, that's cool, and there's no disagreement in that, but where does it go? Where does it fit? And sometimes those things just go on the shelf and they can inspire others. And it's I don't know, like there hasn't been a moment where it's like, I don't want to do that, or like, I don't like your idea. And it's like, well, if you don't like your idea, then come up with a better one. That would be the thing. It's like, or show me how to make it better. And I think everybody listens.
Well, then, like I said, I think it sounds like you guys enjoy each other's music that you each make to the other person. So it's not one of those things where like someone's come in and you're like, oh, another one. Okay, here we go. Like somebody comes in to the room with something, and I'm sure you all are just like default excited to hear what the other person has.
Yeah.
And that I think is really special.
And I will say, a lot of when we first started too, it was kind of like, well, Johnny will be the sort of the Ants creative director. Like we just kind of, I think it was important to like stay that, and then whether that happens, but like, at the end of it, if there is anything, it hasn't happened, but he has the final say. He's just a little more like, well, and he does the mixing and really a lot of the production. He'll come in and it's a labor of love that he doesn't get enough credit for. He just is always doing stuff, and it makes it just phenomenal. And then, we'll come back in a week. He's like, oh, I just added this, and then I did this. And it's phenomenal. It's beautiful. And it's just so fun to see that. And then Nat will add something. And so it's just, I think we don't take for granted how special it is to kind of have this, we're truly really lucky. I mean, whether it's family music, whether it's Kinney music, whatever it is, it's just been, I don't know. I look at it right now, and I feel really, really stoked to be able to do it with these guys.
The context is part of it too, though, right? I mean, like, I think it's easier, at least for us, to kind of go what I was saying earlier, like, without that concern about how this is going to be received, and more like we're proud of it. It doesn't build as many barriers. Look, we're about to do some adult shows. I use that word like it's like scandalous. Non-kids music. And it's like there's a different stressor that immediately comes with that, like to your peers and your fans. And it's like when we think of our fans now, it's like it's still adults and our peers, but it's also kids. And it's just like it just frees it all up to feel like everything is good. And what I think we're very proud that like the songwriting angle is such that we are writing content for kids, but we're doing it musically in a way for everybody. We're doing it for ourselves.
It's like, and Rocky we and love Bullwinkle.
Where it's like our music could be complex as we want it to be. It can be nuanced, and it's definitely like, I think it's a proposition that is not doable by all bands, like where three people are singing, switching off leads, singing 3-part harmonies. We're very proud of that, and that is not intended for the kids. That is like the same reason that we as kids loved music that wasn't kids music, so like we're not pandering to our audience. And I think that allows us to hit on multiple levels and really just not get stuck or too caught up in our egos or be like, I don't like that, I like this. I feel lucky that we're doing that. I mean, I'd imagine if we were doing this exact same thing and we were talking about one of our adult projects, we'd be like, oh yeah, there's been like real challenges of like, of what we are strongly feel about, because we're so delicate and, our egos are sensitive and we're worried about like perception, because there was a time when we were cool and now we're just like, we're not.
I think the coolness factor plays a much heavier degree.
It does.
In, music that's just meant for our ages and up kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like when you have to impress a room full of sophisticated grown-up adults, that's when, your ego as the band now has to get checked by the audience. Whereas family music, like you said, the kids are going to love it because it's the words are geared towards them. Like it's meant to be something they can catch on to, they can sing along with, and because they're just going to be present in the moment, as all kids are.
Right.
But the parents are also there.
Yeah.
And so by creating an element where you can let the adults in the room, especially the adults who appreciate music and will understand the layer, the complexity that is added into the creation of the music, and for the people that have kids that they're bringing out, some of them are going to be kind of broad ranges of ages, and they're all going to be like, oh, this feels like stuff we grew up with. This feels like stuff that this isn't something you would just hear on I don't know any kids show names. I'm sorry. Yeah. Bluey. There we go.
Right.
It's more put together than just it's time to go to the that I think really adds a lot into it.
And the people who are making those songs and the performers who are children's performers are amazing.
Oh yeah, sure. We are not discrediting.
That's just not. We just flipped the equation a little bit. It's like we're still learning how to be like children's performers,
right?
Because we're playing our music with all of the intentions of nailing every note and every subtle tone and every little thing, and that's probably not translating to the kids, but it's making us really proud. And I think there is a level of professionalism that it hopefully is translating to the parents and continue to open doors. But it's a funny thing because I think that there's room for all those types of performers. We're just not a children's performer who plays music. We are musicians
who perform for children as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, actually, that segues. I do have a couple more questions, but I'm going to move them to after we talk about y'all's music, because this is a good segue into there. Yeah. So I did go and check out, y'all's music on Spotify. Nice. And you've got music going all the way back to 2018. So, been doing it for a little while now. And I got to say, it is really cool. I really enjoy your music for a lot of reasons. And I'll be honest, I've sat down with people who do more folky music before. That's not new to me. But this is the first time that I've ever sat down with music that's geared more towards the family element, more towards kid approved audiences and such. And so I went into it with my best listening ears. I was really ready to be open and, expecting the Wiggles and such, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But from the first song, I could immediately tell that it was not that. And, yes, there's very much that Beatles influence in it for sure. But what was cool is that it felt very musical. First of all, that was the thing that jumped out to me. It was very wholesome, and it was all just it was good. From a artist standpoint, somebody who has made music as well, I can listen to it and appreciate all that's there. But the context, the music, the singing, all of it felt very easy to attach to. It felt very comfortable and enjoyable. And that's it's hard to have full albums worth of music that you're just all of this just feels good. And I was going through some, and two of my personal favorites were Colors All Around and Dance Robot Dance. And that's why I was saying that originally. And by the way, if y'all ever get to redo Dance Robot Dance with Corey Wong, it will be the most amazing track ever. And I will be able to retire after that. That would be amazing.
That was the first track I've ever recorded a wah pedal on, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. Corey Wong's right hand would be.
That would just, I was listening to it, and the whole time I was just oh, Corey would be the best feature on this track. It had to be there for me.
We could do a 5-minute Corey Wong interlude.
Yeah. True. I'm sure he'd do it. He'd probably do it. Corey. Let's see if we can make that happen.
He'd probably do it on his tour bus, between shows.
Sure.
And then
he would probably do it at
produced.
the sound check of
exactly.
a show and just send it and be it's perfect.
He'd be
it
is prolific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I did go and check out some of your more recent music, and now obviously the most recent track you put out was Christmas Time Again, and that's a little bit more of a topical track. So I went a little bit further back and I checked out the Campfire EP.
Yeah.
And it's every song is a bop. It's a really cool experience, and I can't stress enough how much I really just enjoy as odd as this is about to sound, the complexity that your music really provides without being complex. It's not math core or anything like that, but the layers, the dynamics in the music, I really enjoy it. So I just wanted to share that with you.
That's
guys.
awesome. Thank you.
We do obsess those nuances. I mean, the conversation we have in the studio, you would never know we're making music for kids. I mean, we are taking this as serious as anything we've ever produced, and we get in there and we debate all the little tiny, like, is there one little click here? Is there one little bell here? And like, so thank you, because I think that it's always funny to speak to our peers in other avenues of music and be like, oh yeah, we're doing a kids. I mean, we always kind of like play it down, like we're doing a kids thing, but I'm really proud of it. And it's actually great music. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I'm never going to listen to that. And it's like, it's fine, because thank you for listening to it and realizing that there is a little bit more behind that than maybe one would expect.
No, I actually, I sent it to a couple of my friends who are like actively, like specifically Beatles fans. And this was before I went and did a little Googling and like found out that was kind of a derivative fountain. And you know, I'm not going to remember to put this, but I hope I put a counter down at the bottom for how many times Beatles are mentioned in this.
Yes, you should.
But I just, when I was hearing it, like I said, it's good music first. And then you made it open to everybody. And that is actually a really like beautiful thing to be able to do. It is, like you said in the beginning, it's not something that everybody strives for per se, but also in a way, it almost feels harder. You know what I mean? Like, I know you said there's a lot of openness, there's a lot of freedom, but to not have to default to like a negative narrative or like just the like colloquial things that everybody is like mentioning right now, or those buzzwords, like to really make something that exists almost timelessly. It like anybody can really listen to these songs at any point in time and get the message, but also get the music. And that's something really special.
We've said musically, if we could play in a bar late enough when everybody's drunk and they weren't really listening, and we would just, you know, like, we could probably trick them for many songs.
Oh, for sure.
They would have no idea.
Sure.
It would sound great. I mean, like, very proud of our live show.
Yeah.
Especially when we play as a 6-piece. Like, it is a full band doing its thing.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, wait, what are you talking about? You know, like, I really want to do this. Yeah. Like, I want
what about the wheels on the bus?
I want the midnight start of set time where we just go for it and then just see what happens.
Please let me know if that ever gets booked. Yeah. I will be there, I promise. But I am curious to know now, out of all the music you have available, what are some of your favorite ones to perform?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask what are our favorite, which ones were our favorite records.
That's not fair. I mean, you know, you should like most of the music in general, but playing them, everybody's always got their ones that jump out to them a little bit more.
Well, let's start with Nat.
You know, so like, I would say the things that make me the happiest is when all of our voices are hitting simultaneously. Oh, it's just like, it's the reason. I mean, I still remember like when we wrote those first songs and we were like, Dave and I had always sang together, and that was the magic. That's why I just kept doing it. And then, wait, Johnny's voice works with this too? Like that, oh my, like still to this day, I walk away from shows going, that sounded great. Yeah. I mean, we all get a trade-off singing the lead. It doesn't really matter. Song-wise, I'm kind of with you. Like, Colors All Around is probably one of my favorite songs to perform because it's just got the right energy. The whole Colors album, for the most part, we have
Every Little Color.
Every Little Color.
Every Little Color is great.
Daddy the Bat.
Which is the Color song where we all sing lead?
We're All Rainbows.
We're All Rainbows. I don't Let's just name as many versions of the word color as possible. Yeah. But no, We're All Rainbows is a really fun one because it starts with Dave singing and then, you know, we're all in and then I finish it. And then like, it's just like
very
everybody.
Beatly middle.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, the counter's good.
Tabla and the sitar.
Just take your counter and just spin it really fast and just let the numbers just tally up. Yeah, no, I think for me, that's a great, I'm going to have to think about this. Do you guys have favorites? Because it's when we're just doing our thing together.
I mean, the one that I always think of is YYY when we do it acoustically. Because we're just doing a 3-part harmony. It's just so fun because we're locked in. Yeah. It definitely, performing it live for kids, it has a different effect where I think the parents are like, whoa, this is kind of bluegrass. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. But the kids, you see the kids just kind of like go, you know, you lose them when you're singing, because they're like, they want, more interaction and kind of like,
The song was a good tool when we first had our first album, saying like, hey, no, look, we're serious. Like, we can do this. So we would, sometimes we'd do little performances, 1 or 2 songs. We would be sure to include YYY to kind of authenticate the musicianship.
Yeah.
But now it's about like, the energy that we can bring from songs from a performance perspective that gets me, whether we have drums or we're doing it as 3-piece, like there's just some up-tempo things where all of our voices are hitting. That seems to translate to the kids, to the parents, and back to us again. So like I'm into that. But for the most part, it's all those color songs that still make me really happy.
Yeah.
Robot Dance has not yet been performed.
Whoa.
So it's on the list like right now of like, we have to play that song live.
Yeah.
Whoa, yes, please. Yeah, let me know when you're going to do that too.
Well, when Corey shows up, we'll play it. You know?
Yeah. Oh, Corey.
I'm looking at the
please.
camera, Corey.
I'm sure he watches this. Yeah. And then going back to one of the questions I had earlier, do you have any like pre-show rituals you do as a band?
Because this band plays earlier in the day, it's usually coffee.
Okay.
You know, it's not like, let's go out for a pre-show drink. But
Oh,
like,
no. I mean, like, you know, some people like, they like do a chant or like, you know, when I was playing in a band, I had a specific pair of silk boxers that I would wear.
Nice.
That was just for me. You know what I mean? Like it for some reason, I put those on. It was showtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely like will sing together. I mean, like anytime we're in like a bigger theater or something, like there's going to be something where we go in a corner and just sing and like let our voices ring out. But there's no like one thing.
No.
Okay.
But it is the funniest thing because there's always caffeine in our system before the show, which is very different than the years past where it was like, you know, it was like, there's
it's the polar
Pabst.
We
It was
start,
free
our
backstage,
set
you
is
know?
like, what time's your set? 10. And it's like AM.
Yeah. And so like our question out, I know you said before, but after every show, it's like, okay, so where do you want to get lunch?
Yeah.
It blows my mind to this day. I still can't get over the idea that we could go have like the second meal of the day after.
Well, I guess,
performing.
I mean, when you said it, it made sense. But now I'm thinking about, to have the whole rest of the day after a gig.
Yeah.
It's
Still
And
like,
sometimes you're wiped. So it's just,
you still think it's midnight or like 2 a.m. Like my brain is still programmed to say for thousands of shows, like when you finish, it's time to get the
pack
van
up
and go
to bed.
home.
Yeah.
And now you're like, you get in the car and you go to lunch.
Yeah.
You go outside of the venue and the sun's been up for a while, not just barely coming up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh, that is an interesting one. And then this is not a normal question. This is one I geared just for y'all. You know, you all come from bands that, as you've said, have played for more adult audiences later in the evening and such. How is the audience experience different from like the band receiving end for like, you know, Ants shows?
Yeah. It's harder.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I think, you know, we, like Nat was saying, we came from indie bands where, I mean, come on, especially in Portland, like you could do, like we were just after the shoegazer phase, but like some bands would just stand there and play the music and it was all about the experience and the energy on stage was sort of the exception in those days. And you've got to bring the energy in this band. Like the kids are going to respond to the energy. We have a song called Ants that's from the first record that I have taken to, because I don't sing on it, or I don't have to. There's a verse I could sing a third part harmony, but I don't have to. So I'm free to jump down in front and jump up and down with the kids. And we played the beautiful historic Kiggins Theater downtown here, and I hadn't tried it before. I was like, kids, this is the jumping song, and I'm going to jump with you the whole song. And it is like 3.5 minutes of like serious nonstop while playing guitar.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, during that, Johnny was like, we were like, all right, this is gonna be great. We're gonna have him jumping. And so I kind of waited a little longer because I was
like, milk
I
it,
get to
Dave,
start
milk it.
when
Like, don't even
the guy
start.
is jumping. We're still
He's already getting tired.
And like I look over and Johnny's just like, you know, like I'm just like,
Guys, go.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill Johnny, but I couldn't help myself. I had to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But your question is good. I think that like when we first started playing for like, I'll say larger audiences, you know, more than like just a handful of kids, it was like, how do we gauge the level of like, how is it going? Like, you know, in our past lives and like anytime we're not playing these kid shows, you know immediately, like crowds into it,
haggle pretty quickly if they don't like you.
You know, that energy is going to come back around and you're going to give it. And like, that's the one thing I've always loved about performing is there's this like reciprocal thing that like excites itself. If you're putting it out there and the audience is giving it, they're going to give it right back to you and then you give them even more. And then it just, you know, turns into those special moments. The kid stuff is a little more, it's different. I mean, yes, the number of balloons they've popped might be indicative of a successful show, but like we've really had to, and I think maybe that's what I was saying earlier, is lean into what we're doing and take pride in the music we're performing, because sometimes you're not going to get the same level of like feedback.
Yeah.
After the show, the parents can be like, that was the best kids show I've ever seen. I mean, that would be the great compliment if someone said that. And the kids are like, I loved it. Thank you for your music. And like, it's just a different energy that's coming back from the audience to the stage. But we're learning. I mean, I think we're learning to really appreciate it. At first, it was bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what that was. Like,
yeah.
Because like, I mean, if we got that same response as in a non-kid setting, I'd be like, I don't think that went well, you know. But now it's like, oh, I think that was the best show we've ever played, and we're really proud of it, because you just kind of have to gauge it based on your own perception of like the performance, and we're pretty honest with ourselves.
And I do think like there is definitely a time limit, right? I mean, you get around 35 to 40 minutes, and like the sugar meter, the kids are just like
they are ready for nap time.
So you have to gauge it where I think, you know, in the past you'd be like, all right, we can kind of ramp it up the very end, but like by that time, sometimes they're done, and it's fascinating to see that change. You know,
and our songs are succinct, so we get a lot of songs in a short amount of time. It's kind of like, I've seen some bands that I love as much as any band in the world, and I still have a limit for how many songs that I can like endure in a concert, even if it's a great concert. And so I think we're just kind of compressing that into about 45. I mean, a lot of venues want us to play an hour or two, and we're like, okay, I know you're asking, but I don't think you know what you're asking for.
Well, and before I forget, like a lot of the, you know, Johnny's mentioned this kind of wonderful kindy family music, you know, group in Vancouver and in Portland, and a lot of those musicians are also like educators. And so like, they have this background where they're able to engage and really. I mean, it is a skill set, and it's so when they do it right, and you see that, you're like, wow, you know, they're able to engage, and there's just enough music, but also at the same time, there is a production value where you might have a puppet or something else to kind of engage with the kids. And I think that's definitely, I see that. I'm like, oh, that really works well.
It's the trick that we have to kind of balance, though, because I think if we want, it's not, I use the word pandering, that's kind of harsh, but like if we took our music and then just made it like, how amped up can we get the kids, and we kind of disregarded what we're doing, I think we'd be compromising the integrity of our music. But we're always thinking, what is the angle to take these songs and really make sure that we're engaging the audience in a way that feels interactive, but still authentic to it being like, they're here and they might not pick up on it for a number of years that they saw a band that was actually like really doing that thing at the next level musically. And so it's sort of like the long game that we're playing with the kids a little bit, but in the real time, it's a different feeling for sure.
Well, and I think the end result probably is just Johnny jumping for more songs.
Johnny
like maybe
Camp Up.
3 or 4 songs. I think right now he's kind of, you know.
It's a great tool, but two things. Here's what's interesting. Same show. Actually, it was a double header that day, wasn't it? It was 2 shows.
Double header.
Okay. Second show also did the jumping, but we had the opportunity to and we've done this a few different times, bring it down, and we did Campfire Smoke from that EP, but we did it off mic. We unplugged the acoustics, went out front, and had the kids come up and like, who all's been camping before, and like let's pretend like we're around a campfire and do this campfire style. And you could hear a pin drop, and the engagement from the kids, I would say, was as high as the jumping.
Yeah.
But it's a totally different vibe. And those are my favorite moments where you're like, okay, because you're talk about playing the long game. You're showing these kids, whether they're absorbing it or not, they are. Maybe they don't know it, but you're showing them, I'm a human, I'm playing an instrument. And when I play my instrument, he plays his, and we sing together, that makes that sound that you hear come out of the record.
Yeah, and none of this is the magic out of the speakers anymore. Right. Here is the magic.
Right. And it's not a computer doing it. It's like we're people playing this. And my hope is, and well, we know because parents will send us, especially if it's friends that have our numbers, will send us a video of their kiddos like playing with their toy guitar and singing our songs. And it's like, and we just got one last week. It was like, that's the coolest feeling.
It's pretty amazing.
That is rad.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, I'm going to say it, that segues really well into this next question.
Nice.
do each of you, I mean, you can count this one as yours if you'd like, or you could tell another one, but do each of you have like a fun band memory, whether it be performance or in the studio or just anywhere along those lines that you'd like to share while you're here?
From Ants.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but the DC trip was so magical. It's always fun. And we got to tour in our other bands. And so it's not like the first time we'd ever gotten on a plane for music, but there is something about getting on a plane with your guitar and your bandmates. And it's just fun. So,
I mean, adding on to that, there was a favorite story that was also Dave's nightmare that happened. So I was traveling not with these guys, and I met them. I had been gone for like 3 weeks.
Right.
And we're going to play what was at that point our most high profile show, you know, like this big thing.
Yep.
And
we played on air at Sirius XM too.
Yeah, it's true. And so, but we got in, we all converged in Washington, DC.
Yeah.
Sleep, you know, we're tired and feeling, I think we were going to perform the next day. And we did a run through in our little Airbnb, and Johnny and I were like, what if we switched parts?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Harmony parts.
Yeah. And we're like, this is great. And like, we're both like, this like maybe our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And Dave was just
really uncomfortable.
how you can't do this the night before the big show. And we're like, no, we can't. Like, it feels right. Like we're going to do it. And I love that kind of stuff. Like I absolutely love that kind of stuff. And we almost push it too far sometimes where like, we're like, what if you started singing that song? And I'm like, I think we're trying to stay a little more consistent with it, but like that's the variability and the flexibility of this band in general is like always pretty fun because we will do the 3-part and be really proud of it. We'll do a 4-person, we'll do a 5, or we'll do a 6.
Yeah.
I don't think we've gone more than that.
I'm going to say changing a part the night before a big show would also be my personal nightmare. I'm right there with you.
Like we practice this way. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Come on, you're killing me.
We were like, you just keep doing your part.
Yeah, at least like they were deciding to like interact. They didn't rope you into
I was like, I'm not changing anything. You guys do it. I am plowing ahead.
I'm surprised that I enjoyed that much because I think historically I would have been like, absolutely not. Like we have dialed this and here we are.
Yeah.
But favorite moments, I mean, we got to play. I think it's the doors that music opens for me in my life have always been some of my favorite moments. And I think that Ants continues to do that. Like you said, we've got quite a lineup of shows coming, but a few years ago we got to play Pickathon, and, you know, like we're sitting backstage with like these huge touring acts that play like hardcore metal. And they're like, what band are you in? And we're like, oh, we're on another stage. You haven't seen us. You know, like just that kind of thing where you're just like, it's all a bunch of musicians. Everyone's so nice and so cool. And we're, you know, equally professional. We're in like a unique subgenre of genres, but like, I love that it has really allowed us to see and experience some pretty amazing things, you know, adjacent to the music itself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, Pickathon was, you know, fabulous. We played Tree Fort, which was another big festival.
This year
we played Tree Fort, and then we played Timberfest, which was a really kind of a fun festival outside of Seattle. But one that I really enjoyed was with Johnny. We went, we did a library tour, and unfortunately Nat couldn't join.
Oh, yeah.
But we went up to the Olympic Peninsula, and so we cruised up there and just got to see this beautiful part of Washington State, which is just gorgeous. Played a couple shows at these smaller libraries where I don't think the kids maybe necessarily have a lot of people come up there to play. And it was just phenomenal. We just, you know, stayed in a little Airbnb and then played a couple different shows. And it was just like, I don't know, that area is so magical. And that was pretty cool.
What an interesting circuit.
Yeah.
Library circuit.
Oh, yeah.
It's the only time you get to make noise in there.
It's weird.
Whoa, it feels very like, wow, oh, that is interesting.
But I always have
all the rules. Rock and roll.
Yeah.
This is I always say this. Because Johnny's band, The Dimes,
I know where you're
they're known, like he writes.
I like to write songs about
historical fiction. And
not fiction.
Okay. So
real people.
Real people.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so every time it happened, every library we played up there, we'd be like, oh, this is Dave in this band, and then Johnny from the Dimes, and the librarians would just like perk up and be like, Dimes. I mean, and I was like, well, it makes sense because they're like, oh, Johnny, like, when's your next record? Or like, oh, hey, can you sign this? You know, and he had this huge fan base of librarians. Just
you didn't know that, like you should have known back in the.
I mean, who knew Forks?
Yeah,
the library in Forks, big Dimes.
But it happened like so many times, and it was always just one of those weird stories where just like people that certain.
Yeah, your niche was within another one of your niches, and you didn't even realize it.
Right.
That is a fun one. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think I was just thinking that whole time about favorite moments though. I think one of my favorite moments outside of performances, of which there've been many, is what happens in the studio.
Yeah.
So when we were making, I think Robot Dance might have been like one of the best examples of this. It was just a yes and equation. It was, let's try this. Yes, let's do this. Oh my gosh, do this. And like, it just kept cascading into this, what ultimately became the song. And we took that and we were like, let's bottle this up and use this now as the formula for how we make. And we've fairly consistently tried to bring our peers in and contribute in a way where it just has this sort of like building explosion of creativity. And like that first time that happened, I was like, wow, this is truly the power of like open, supportive collaboration. And so that was like, I say this in different avenues of creativity, in formal workplaces, in like whatever. It's like, if you can figure out how to do that type of thing, you're going to find a lot more success and happiness in any avenue of life. And it's not to have my little TED talk or whatever you want to say, but like it's real. And like we just kind of experienced a very authentic version of it. And I will never forget that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to say it again. That segues well into this next question.
We're all about segues.
Yeah. You guys are nailing the flow of this interview. I really appreciate it. But this next one is going to be an individual answer one, and it's going to kind of zoom out from the band just a little bit. But, we've talked about, the experience of music, the actions, the reactions. But when it's just you and music one-on-one, what does music give back to each of you?
Oh. Well, it's like, which direction do I want to go with this? See, I fell in love with making records, which if you had talked to me 20 years ago, I was all about playing live. I mean, I played in a band in college, played live 3-4 times a week. The Dimes played a ton. We were on the road constantly, and I loved it. But somewhere in there, I just became, and I'll mention the Beatles again, that example of what they became when they stopped playing live and they focused on the studio, and just those moments like Nat was talking about in Robot Dance, where this magic thing happens and it's forever. Like you captured it. You actually captured magic on record and you have it forever. And that thing, that's what it gives back to me. And you kind of know it when it's happening. Yeah. You've got that. You're like, oh, I can't believe we just got that on tape, and now to be and I say this all the time, and not to be morbid, but long after we're gone, my kids or whatever have, there I am. If you miss me, just go listen to the record. There I am. So it's really cool. That sense of forever, that captured magic thing. Yeah. And I would say the same thing for Dave's. Got an incredible eye for photography. If you capture, you do this. People can capture it in a photograph. Filmmakers, obviously, like those types of things. We get to be in this recorded media where you can capture magic, and that's just super cool.
Oh, I mean, I could definitely agree with that one. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to follow that one. I feel like you said it all, right? I mean,
well, again, this is supposed to be for you individually. What does music give to you?
Yeah, I think for me, I think. Well, we have friends that love going out to live music and love experiencing that. I think for me, I've always been a headphone guy, where if I can just listen to a captured recording with headphones, just enjoying that experience, like that's one of my favorite things in the world. Like, I mean, I almost kind of avoid live. It's not really my thing as much. I mean, I definitely love seeing music, but at this point, just music is that escape where you're just able to completely get lost in a record. And then within that, you get this inspiration. Like, how many times have I just listened to something like, oh, I want to do that, or I want to how can I emulate what they did there? And I just use that as like this, like, it's just a glorious thing you get to enjoy personally and in the comfort of your own home, with maybe a glass of whiskey or a juice box.
Yeah. Something with caffeine in it.
That's right. Yeah. Coffee. Yeah. But so that's what I love that. I just that for me, that as just a fan of music and getting turned on to new music and just experiencing that in that environment, nothing beats it for me. So
Yeah, I love that.
Good answer, Dave. Yeah, music gives back to me. Like, music is like the most general word, and like as a person who makes music, even that there are 1,000 avenues that like you could grab onto. You could be like, I'm a lyricist, I'm a melody maker, I'm a studio engineer, I'm a performer, I'm a bedroom shredder. I'm like, all these things are relevant, and they can be totally exclusive. But for me, it's like, I enjoy like all of the different avenues of music, and what it provides is balance in my life. Like, even though I think, we have all spent a huge portion of our life dedicated to music, prioritizing music, and even like most hours of the day is doing something that is music specific, but you still are a human that has all the other facets of life and, responsibilities or other fun things. And for me, there have been times where I've really let music kind of wane a little bit.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
He's going to die.
Water got me on that one.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Portland water. It's too good.
It's that spicy Portland water. No, like there's been times in my life where I've looked back, and music, I've set it aside a little bit, or just, it hasn't been, and I'm so out of balance. Like, it's like, oh, well, now I can't enjoy my time doing this other thing because I can't look forward to that. Like, I get to play music, and like people seemingly want me to, like what a joy. Yeah. And when I say play it, I mean like it's all the things. It's like, we are trusted to create. We're trusted to go through the process of then recording it, and and then we get to collaborate. And like creative collaboration is, I think, something we all live for. And then we find joy in performing. And like you said, Dave, I mean, like each of us have different affinity for like maybe like seeing other people on stage or being on stage, but like you get to pick your spot that's your favorite, and we get to do all of it. Like I feel like that just it completes me, so that the rest, I can spend time enjoying the rest of my life, knowing that I don't have to put all of my emphasis on finding joy in things that maybe can't provide it. Because we've got this like joy machine. Yeah. Like it's incredible. Like I say this in a very formal workplace. I'm able to focus and do what I think is good, dedicated work because I look forward to when I can stop doing that and go home and do this. Or spend my weekends or spend extra time. And like, that's I'm trying not to say, I don't know. That's just, I'm happy that I have that in my life, and that we've all done that together, because with the three of us, it really, we lift each other up. When there are those moments where individually, one day, years ago, I might've just been like, I don't know, I'm missing the inspiration, or I'm we push each other. Like we all will fall down, and the other one's like, come right back up.
Yep.
So music is all about balance. Yeah. As a human.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that answer. Actually, I really appreciate all three of your answers, because the relative theme between you three and like how you view music is really cool. Like it's because, I ask that question to everybody. That is a lot of these are recurring questions, but that is one that, regardless of whether it's like a band one or a DJ one or what have you, that is the question I ask everybody. And a lot of times, people give the classic answer like, oh, it's my therapy, it's my escape, it's like how I like get through my day. But the emphasis that music is the epicenter of all of it, being all three of your answers, I think really kind of just explains even more why Ants music is so good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. But now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions. Yeah. And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well.
Nice.
But this first one is pretty straightforward. Okay. And I ask every band this, but I'm very excited to hear the answers for this from y'all specifically. If the band could share a bill with any currently performing act. So that's the only requirement is they have to be active. They have to be out there now and doing it. Mm-hmm. Who would you each want it to be with?
If Ants could share a bill with a currently performing act.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You just recited that question like you were in like some sort of public forum where they hand the mic around.
Right?
Please repeat the question. We couldn't hear it, sir.
Right.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer for you, I would think.
No, I'm not going to say Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Can I then?
Because I was going to try to say, I was thinking about the Kindy community. I was thinking about, okay, so we have a record that's going to come out in a couple of months with last year's Grammy-winning artist, the Alphabet Rockers. And Nat sings this super catchy song. Actually, we have a friend, illustrator, animator who animated our first few videos, who's currently animating a video to this song with the Alphabet Rockers. And so I'm just going to say I would love to share a bill and do that song live.
Yeah.
So there you go. How about that?
That's amazing. That animator is Chris Purdon too.
Yes.
He's a local guy, a phenomenal illustrator and videographer.
Yeah, and just to give you credit, a lot of our videos Dave made the kind of the more like 2D cut and like would you say like construction cut and paste like animated videos. Like Dave did those. Chris Burton did the kind of created the initial Ants characters and did like a full on animated video, which is I couldn't do that.
Yeah, no, you and me both.
Not even. Yeah, it's amazing.
Real. But you can actually, we can plug it. You can check it out on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Ants. It's just the / YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we'll have a whole section for all the plugs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
so that'll be there.
Secret plug
you're all
away.
good. We don't delete anything on the show, so
It's not like I'm not going to enjoy this Portland water. I'm going to.
I'll answer that question after I drink Portland water.
Which you also find on YouTube. Ants.
Gosh, that's I mean, I the Beatles. We always talk about that. That would Paul would be playing with or having him sing a song. That would be phenomenal. That was probably my. I know that's the straightforward, but I'm going to take it.
that is all right.
Absolutely.
And you can add another bing to that.
I was going to say, yep.
This is a crazy question. Like it's so. I feel like our band is like out of context for like for this answer, but I'm like. So I guess what I would love to do, and maybe you can help fill this in for me, is like I would love to play for Ants to play a massive venue, like a stadium, an arena, which is bigger.
Square Garden.
Yeah, like as big as possible. Because the three of us, when we sing together, oftentimes we're like, it's so fun when there's just no mic and with just us, because it's all there and you can hear it all. And then there's the opposite end of that spectrum where it's so massive that your voice is bouncing around. So I don't know, like who's the biggest touring band in the world right now? Like, do we? I'm going to say like bands that are totally outdated. Like
Taylor Swift?
No.
Yeah. I mean, sure, that's a great answer.
Beyonce.
Oh,
We'll have Taylor sing an Ant song.
I want to play for. I want to play for a band where, like, somehow it fits like their vibe.
okay. Hear me out.
Like Coldplay or U2 or
Jeff
something.
Lynne
you know?
is still touring ELO.
That'd be cool.
Hear me out, though. This wouldn't technically match up vibes wise, but it would definitely match up name wise. Alien Ant Farm.
Wait, we would be doing a cover of Smooth Criminal?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess that is already a cover, so it'd be a cover of
But
a
is-
cover.
A cover of their cover.
Yeah.
Didn't they do that?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they use other time signatures from 4/4. So I don't know. That would be
Occasionally,
tricky.
yes. Occasionally, yes. But like I said, that one's just more of a fun one for
Love
me.
it.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, this is the silly questions. The one I always pitch it to bands, and it's a lot of fun for me. So bear with me on this one. If the band's music could be the soundtrack to any movie, which would you each pick?
Oh, well, it'd be a Pixar movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, you wouldn't want to choose Twin Peaks?
No, I'm not sure. I don't know if I heard correctly, but they're making another Incredibles.
Ooh.
So
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know.
I think because I want to authenticate our music and push it into that weird, like Jim Henson 70s vibe.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I'd want to do like, I'm sorry, what's the name of the movie with like Bowie was in it.
Labyrinth?
Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would love for our music to be like, we would make an album to fit Labyrinth, like,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Ooh,
But
or
that's
like the Dark Crystal.
Exactly. Like that whole style is like, we realized like how creatively influenced we all were. And like that stuff is freaky, and it was for kids, but like the edits where we may say that might be too much, like there was never that.
Yeah,
So
no.
it's actually quite freeing to remember that. So I'm like, oh, let's go really bizarro, weird, but still have that same sensibility that whatever it is that we possess.
Yeah.
So I want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, let's go with Labyrinth.
Well, even like Fraggle Rock too. Like, I mean, that was one
Yep.
that I loved
It's-
growing
yeah.
up, and
Yep.
I think that they redid that now. And I was going to say, can I go back to the answer beforehand?
Top Gun.
real quick?
Sorry, I was filling in your answer.
No, thank you.
Newest Top Gun.
Top Gun. Definitely Top Gun. No, I was going to say, I would love, what if we had, Elmo or a Sesame Street character sing a song? Because I've been growing up loving Sesame Street, loving that. That'd be really cool, Or
Actually, yeah, you guys ending up on Sesame Street feels like the pretty natural progression.
that is a
Yeah.
dream. That is a dream to write music for those characters
Absolutely.
and to perform.
I mean,
So cool.
I think that is something that we have actively talked about, of like, as a musician, you have to do this. You've got to be on camera. You've got to sell yourself. You've got to be out there in social media. It's a crazy thing. You can really distract from the art. But if there is an existing medium like a Sesame Street that we could then write for, it would be the dream.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because they're doing the thing. We get to now be inspired by this vehicle for our sound, and like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a North Star for us, one of the North Stars.
Yeah. Well, the Sesame Street's also been very good at being like, hey, this is music they do.
Yeah.
You don't just have to do the magic numbers,
Yeah.
Like you can bring your own stuff onto there.
Right.
And they're still like, we're going to watch these guys perform this.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that's always been kind of special about that show in particular.
Absolutely.
And it's just so accepting too. I just
Yeah.
think it's such a positive. I mean, we definitely are trying to, in current events now, just be, a ray of light, just, help. It seems like there's an opportunity to, do something better and better ourselves a little bit. And
Yeah,
help.
very much so.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all awesome answers.
Yeah. And I was going to say, Tommy Boy.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So why don't we? Okay.
Yeah. I got you guys.
Dave, you just opened a door.
Got you guys. Can't be all serious. It'd be in a 70s Fellini movie.
Yeah, it's Happy Gilmore.
there you go.
No, it's actually Billy Madison. No, it's
Yeah. Okay.
It's Tommy Boy. Yeah, I'll go back to it with you, Dave.
Right.
Tommy Boy, the musical.
Yeah.
By Ants. It makes sense. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
It writes itself.
All right. And then to wrap
Jake
up the hypothetical questions. If you could each add an abstract instrument into the band. So no saxophone, no keyboards, none of the like standard ones. But if you could each add like a bizarre instrument or an uncommon one, which would you each want to add?
I'm going to go first because I want to beat you guys to it. Like the Ricola, the big horn,
The Alpine.
the Alpine horn.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Moo." that's what I'd add.
That's pretty good.
That is a good one.
Got you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because I
Matt.
totally wanted that one.
Yeah.
Man, that was actually on my.
Yeah, my lozenge was like
Just had
just
to
telling
act
me what to have.
Ricola.
I
Just
don't.
play an anvil the other week.
I did.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes.
We have a lot of weird, like that's the thing. It's like, no joke. There's most things we do are analog. There's not a lot in the box that we're just like replicating. It's like, let's use the real thing. So there's banging on pans.
Is there a plug-in for an anvil?
Oh, there's gotta be.
There's gotta be. Somebody put that in the
Because there was a
comments
band that starts with a B that used it back in the day. And so I'm not adding
a real
tally.
anvil. Okay, so Sting did a record with the remember, no
That's the backstory.
Sting did a record with that instrument that predated the guitar, and it's got that folded.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Is it a lute?
Something along those
I was
lines.
gonna say lute,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I think it's
Like big body,
Yeah.
really skinny, shortish.
but it
neck
has
with
a
the-
cool sound.
Yeah. Wait, is it a lyre?
I don't.
Oh,
Ooh.
L-Y.
Yeah, something. It's
it's not a liger.
no.
Not a com.
Yeah. Well, I just think that'd be really cool to texture into
Yeah.
Yeah.
a track.
Would you wear a hat? Like,
I mean, I don't know.
like a medieval hat? Would you
Yeah, absolutely. With a feather.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A frock.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is a great question because you're really testing my knowledge of obscure instruments, like non-conventional. Like,
Well, Dave's now for whatever reason, the image that came to mind when the musician was playing that instrument with a feathered hat was the brave Sir Robin from Monty Python.
Yes.
Like, well, I don't know if that would fit the
we have
music,
legit played coconuts on our album, right?
Yeah.
Like we actually have done that little coconut move for real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got to take that away.
Yeah. Nate Preselli, Deepest Darkest, also the bass player in Ants, plays trumpet, and he's the trumpet player on most of the Ants songs. And he just jokingly said, "You guys want me to make it sound like a horse?" with his trumpet. And so at the end of, is it Campfire Smoke?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's the end of Campfire Smoke. He makes a like with his trumpet. And we were like, well, we've got to do the coconuts from Monty Python if we're going to do that.
Yeah.
You still haven't named your...
Oh, yeah. So my instrument, I just saw something like ridiculous new technology. I'm just going the opposite direction for the fun of it. But there's some guitar that the whole, like there's basically like a spinning disc on the surface of it. And it sounded like a banjo, but it played itself, but you still used your finger. It's like you removed your right hand if you're playing right, and you're playing the chords. It was ridiculous, but like I would want to like pull that on stage, and be like, look at me. It looked like a hybrid between playing Guitar Hero and an actual guitar, but like it's to make music.
Interesting.
I don't know. It could be a thing.
Hey, that counts.
I don't know if it sounds good, if it fits our vibe, but like bizarre.
I was gonna say, yeah, you've definitely reached the realm of abstract.
Yeah.
What is Dick Van Dyke playing Mary Poppins when he has all...
Oh, I think that's
he's
just
like
a series. Yeah,
like a
that's
band.
multiple things
that's
all
just-
over
okay,
his body.
that's not-
Accordion.
That's
and
not one-
drums and
Yeah, no, that was all the
weird,
instruments.
like steampunk.
Yeah.
I mean, finding one of those like street performer that has like cymbals on the knees and like little bells on the toes and all, that would be amazing.
That would be a very interesting feature. Like, this is Dave from outside.
Yeah, we're all like, should we bring a little foot cymbal on stage? No. Let's not get too difficult here.
Toe tambourines do not a great experience make in the long run.
I've told this story before, but not here. Dave and I were in the studio years ago performing something like live on camera, and there was a kick drum over there, and I was like, oh, this song has a kick drum pulse in it. I'm going to go play this live because I'm cool like that. And I cramped up like 20 seconds into it. And then it was no longer a quarter note. It was just like, thump, 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 thump. And I'm like, meanwhile, I'm trying to sing and play it. Yeah. So yes, we'll keep it simple.
Yeah. No, those are all great answers. Thank you. All right. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and August?
Oh, wow.
A lot of live shows coming up. We're traveling at the end of this month to Boise.
Right.
For
Tree Fort / Kid Fort is at the end of the month.
Yeah. So all of our Boise fans, see you there.
Yeah. So it's a lot of festivals, which is awesome. But what's after that? Which one is next? Timberfest.
Okay.
Right? Is it in June or July? I don't know.
Timberfest.
This is why we have
precedes
calendars.
We have Timberfest and Pickathon.
Right. Pickathon's in August.
And those are both summery, wonderful events.
Right.
In there, we will be releasing new music.
Britfest is in June.
There we go. So down in Jacksonville, Oregon.
Right.
Kind of an amazing experience. We're going to go down, play some sets, and do a
songwriting
workshop with kids.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Working on the syllabus right now.
Wow.
In my head.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it, but we're totally working on it.
So yeah, you got Tree Fort. All this is now on the website, right?
Yeah.
So
It'll soon be on.
Tree Fort / Kid Fort. Britfest in Southern Oregon. So Boise, Southern Oregon. Timberfest is up in Northern Washington, and then back in Portland for Pickathon.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then new music out this year.
Right, and we've got
which is a big deal.
Either an EP or a record. I think it's going to be a full record. Is going to come out right at the beginning of summer, and it'll have that single with the Alphabet Rockers on it. "Away We Go" is the name of that song.
Written by Johnny. Phenomenal song.
That again was on the shelf until Dave think just suggested it to Alphabet Rockers. He's like, Johnny's got this
He just
song.
sent it without saying anything. He's like, yeah, I think you guys will like this one.
It's magic.
Yeah.
It's magic. Yeah.
And then we may have another record come out this year towards the latter part of the year, but we definitely will get to work on the holiday tune
Yes.
in the fall.
In the
Matt has a
meantime,
Christmas song ready to go.
Yeah.
totally. Back pocket.
Yeah.
We're rounding out some songs right now, so we've been jumping in and out of the studio, getting those done. So there's a lot of things in work. I think this year is going to be another, like when we look back on it, 25 will be a pretty prolific year. And we have this. We're grounded in the festivals from a performance perspective, but we'll be putting some other probably more local accessible shows on the calendar too, because we've got an amazing crew around here. Vancouver's been amazing. Portland's been amazing.
We totally do have a library show in Kenton, the Kenton neighborhood of Portland.
And we might be going down to Selwood for some events upcoming.
That's right. You're right.
With the kids stuff, we find that like the shows, we play more outdoor shows than we do indoor shows, I think, daytime, morning.
Well, and it's good for kids to be outside.
We're still kind of in the early bits of that. We just performed outside this past weekend, which I cannot believe that we pulled it off in March. It was like a sunny day. It could have been just brutal weather. But so the shows will ramp up as late spring, early summer. Which is, it's funny to be a seasonal band from performance perspective, but we really kind of are.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Well, then it sounds like y'all plenty going on.
Yeah.
And when you put out the new album, if it ends up being a new album, please come back. I have another segment I do called Tuned In, where I actually I have y'all send me the album early. I listen to some of the tracks. I do in-depth breakdowns of some of the songs. Then I ask about the process of making it. And I would love to have you guys back for that. I think that would be probably one of my most interesting ones to date.
Cool. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah.
But for this next one, go and look straight at your cameras. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Dave knows all of the links.
Dave will tell you directly right now.
You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/ants. We have an Instagram page that I believe is Ants Band.
Ants Band.
No, it's just Ants Band.
Oh, it's just Ants Band.
Is it really?
I can't remember.
Okay.
If you look up ants, you'll find all of this.
Right. If you Google ants,
you will see pictures of many ants.
Right.
And then we'll be right there.
We are
the humans.
ants.com, are we not?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So www.
I don't know if you have to do that anymore.
Oh, just ants.
No, it's http://
double slash.
We have an AOL account too.
Right.
And a MySpace page.
Right.
That's
we are on Facebook.
Friendster, yeah.
We are on whatever it's called now, X.
We're on Kazaa too.
Oh, good.
LimeWire if you
Nice.
want to download the record.
Nice. Spotify, Ants.
Yeah, you can find our music everywhere music is sold.
Apple
You don't
Music.
have to buy it too. You can always download it.
Right.
Usually when we do these types of things, we should be prepared to answer that question.
And I will say,
I'm just going to say, band meeting right now, let's learn our website.
and I will say, if you're here in town, if you're in Portland, Music Millennium has our records, and if you're in Vancouver, Ronald Records has our records.
And we're in the process right now of just doing a big website overhaul. There will be merchandise available. I'm looking at you, Nod. Yeah.
Yes.
We did some hand-dyed tees and fun stuff like that. So we're just trying to be more connected to our fan base and our listeners.
And hopefully adult sizes soon.
Yeah.
And all those people will know how to get to our website because they're smarter and they have better memories than we do.
Yeah.
So I will tell you this. First of all, with the YouTube, it's /@ and then the name. But all of that stuff will also have been on the screen
So
while
close.
y'all were saying it. So
Nice.
the people watching it, you will know what it actually was by it being down below. The people that are just listening, Google
Good luck.
ants. Yeah.
I think when you play this back, edit in at just right over, you can.
Yeah, it's just it pauses for a second. Just at.
We just freeze and you hear that.
I mean, we could really just not have any of this show up. We could just have
Oh no! It's like I said before. This show doesn't get edited.
Oh, man.
It is
All right.
a pretty rolling account.
I love it.
I think one thing I can say is that we all three of us have never been the ones that have focused our time on marketing. And I think there's we could put 5 to 25% more effort into that, and that would be great.
I'm gonna tell you, I am not a big social media guy in general. If you go and look on mine, it is very specifically straightforward. And I was fortunate enough that everything could just be at Jimmy's Jambox.
Yeah.
Just got real lucky with that. So I thank my stars, because if it was anything other, I would butcher it every time.
Yeah.
Like even if it was just Jimmy's Jambox Pod, I would forget. I would 100. I'd be like, is there a space? Is there a period? Is there ampersand? I don't know, you guys. So I get it.
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, are there any other plugs? Any other shout outs? Anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
No, just
come see us this summer, spring, summer.
Yeah, and if you have family, there's plenty of other great bands in town too. Like so, there's always
Yeah.
We mentioned the wonderful Kindy community. You got Andy from Red Yarn is amazing. I had a session today with Kelly Welly. We're making a record with her, or a couple songs with her. We got Dan from the Pointed Man Band. We got Mo Phillips. And these are just people we've seen recently.
Yeah.
but a great group.
Creative.
So there's a lot out there for families needing music, and go out and support them.
But yeah, come on. I mean, really, come to other shows and enjoy. Hopefully enjoy. Give us feedback. We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't wait to see you guys at a show. That'll be fun.
That'll be great to see you there.
All right. Now, with that being said, I've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Okay.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And you know what? We're going to shout out the Beatles too, because why not? There's another one for you guys. But with that being said, the final question. And this is for each person individually, and you can answer in whatever order you'd like, whoever comes up with it first. But in all of music, what is an album you each feel is more on the obscure side? It's a bit of a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know. Well, Jimmy, let me tell you about this one Beatles album.
That's the problem. None of those are obscure.
I know, I was saying.
Although, if depends how I'm going to find it. No. I was going to go solo records.
Technically,
there's solo records. Some people don't listen to Ram is amazing.
Yeah,
McCartney. But I'm going to say, and it is known in our community, but you'd be surprised how many people I say Glenn Hansard and they don't know who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So if you've ever seen Once, it won the Oscar for best song for Falling Slowly. But Glenn Hansard is phenomenal, and Didn't He Ramble is a solo record of his that I just think is top, no skips.
Can I follow that, or can I have a record by a well-known artist, but probably people don't know?
Yeah, that's totally
I think
fine.
one of the best records that's been made is Beck's Midnight Vultures.
Oh,
it is a phenomenal record. It was kind of passed over. I feel like when people go back and actually listen to it, it's just so far ahead of its time of when it was made, and it is awesome. So I would say that record, I mean, you think of Beck, you think of Odelay, you think of Sea Change, you think of kind of his newer stuff, but that record is just killer. So,
yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that record too. I still remember driving around with my first CD player in a car, listening to that.
I was also going to say there's this guy named Rob Thomas, Matchbox 20. He had this amazing record that he played a song with Santana.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Metallica?
I think that was on Santana.
Oh, come on. Really?
He did collaborations with a bunch of different people.
Hey, they cracked the code. They did quite well. Good for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's almost like when I say these answers now, I'm trying to speak to a younger audience. I don't think this is obscure. We can go deeper, but we just got to see these guys live, and they're just still doing the same thing. And I'm just going to go with, because it was formative for me, was Not a Surf, Let Go.
Oh yeah.
That album, it's so genuine. They are older than us. They're just still playing their songs. The audience is so happy to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that album came out right when we were like making our first, like really doing it. Like we are a band, we are out there performing, we're making our first album. It just kind of was like an inspirational moment.
Yeah.
But they're not an obscure band and it's not necessarily an obscure album, but I don't think that it's prevalent in anyone's rotation these days, but it sure was pretty important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, gosh, I was trying to think of those formative things more, like even anything by Ben Queller back then was like significant. I don't find myself listening to these things now, but they were so important back then.
Yeah.
Well, what was the Sean Mullins record that you really like?
You're up with the stars. No, I don't know how. Is that Sean?
Yeah,
Mullins?
that's Sean.
Yeah, I wasn't into that.
Yeah.
He's amazing, but it wasn't my thing.
Fair enough. I'm gonna. I don't usually put one here, but I'll put one here just because it jumped into my head. "Roll the Bones" by Rush.
Oh,
Okay.
Super slept on album.
Oh.
So I'm just now, like, I'm not getting into Rush, but I sent friends a song recently and they're like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And it was off of their first album and I'm like, he's like trying to sound like Zeppelin, and it blew my mind because I just picked it up a little later in life, and all the respect for the musicianship, it just wasn't my thing.
See, I ran into this weird with Rush specifically because that was the only Rush album in my house. And my dad had the general stuff. So, he had the Beatles, he had Zeppelin, he had Metallica, he had Megadeth because, gotta have both, duality. Yeah. But the only Rush album in the house was Roll the Bones. Okay. So that was the first experience I ever had with them. And this was like, I think it was like 93, 95, somewhere. It was like almost a contractually obligated album versus like one of their like super influential ones. Yeah. So like, it wasn't until I was in high school, I think, that I found out about like 2112 and all of those ones and was like, oh, there's way more. But I listened to the entire album cover to cover. And like I said, it's one not a lot of people know, but I really like it. So I think it's a good fit. But
nice.
Your guys' answers are all really good and I appreciate it.
I'm going to walk away from here, come up with like 20 good answers.
Well, feel free to send them in. They may not make it on screen, but I will listen to them.
No, I think we all love music and appreciate it. And it's amazing. Sometimes those obscure albums pop up now and it's like, how did I miss it? But I'm glad I found it, and like, it's still influential.
I love that regardless of when music comes out, you can find it and enjoy it for a first time. Yeah. So it could be the oldest stuff in the world, but once you hear it for the first time, it cements itself kind of in that space. And even if it's something you don't love in the beginning, like I remember when Panic at the Disco put out their Pretty Odd album, and you were just like, this is not normal Panic at the Disco. But like 2 years later, you go back and you're like, oh, this is good. This is a really good album.
Yeah.
So that's another obscure one. If y'all are not fans, that was a very drastic change for them. They went like more like bluegrass folky with it.
Oh, interesting.
Really cool transition.
Yeah.
Nice.
One band. I got one band. One more band.
One. Go ahead.
Okay. But Brendan Benson, Lapalco. So Brendan Benson, from Detroit. But phenomenal record, very power pop.
Well, he became huge when Raconteurs with Jack White.
The Raconteurs with Jack White, but like his solo record he did, it was just phenomenal, just so cool, and just killer melodies, great songs, great tunes. Brendan Benson, Lapalco, phenomenal record.
I used to travel for work a lot, and I would listen to that on an airplane or like in a hotel on the other side of the world, and it would set me right. That album, it was just like grounding. I'm going to ask you what album I'm trying to think of right now. There's an artist that came out with.
Is it Seven Mary 3?
Yeah, it was a few years ago. We were listening to. You gave me the vinyl.
Lord Huron?
No, but that's amazing stuff. Individual artist. It's his name. Oh my gosh! Sorry to put you on the spot live. This is really dead air.
Robbers on High Street. Ben Troken.
Oh, that's pretty good too. Benny Troken.
Phenomenal.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Robbers on High Street. Robbers on High Street is a great answer. Let's just go with that. There's another band though, like contemporary. He was just on tour. It's not Sam Evian, although I love Sam Evian. That's how you say his name. It doesn't matter.
I am now so curious what this album is.
Yeah.
I'll go steal my phone and run back in here, but no, it's fine.
That's all right. If you think of it, send me it after. I'll put it on the screen.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
This is great.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Johnny.
Dave.
And I'm Nat.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.